Yo, what is good, yo? It's your boy Thon back here with another video. And as you guys can see up here, forget that ad, Tinybo current gen tier list maker. Yes, this tier list is going to be specific for people who do play on current gen. Or if you're wanting to know something more about current gen, this is the list for you. We're not going to be going over talking about anything about next gen. This is current gen, where this radioactive cream is better than Gavin Garnett. This isn't the best of both worlds. This isn't where pistol people, he's going to know. Forget next gen, he stinks on current gen, so he's going to be bad on this list. Current gen specific list for all you guys out there who are wondering who I value highly compared to some of the other players. So we've got a ton of players on this list. You guys can see each and every one of them. Now, I probably left off a few players on accident, but tried to get mainly the most important ones on this list. And yes, there are a lot of them. So before we dive any deeper, if you are new to my channel and have not yet, please consider smashing that subscribe button, as we're on the road to 70,000 subscribers. So we're just going to start off here with Blake Griffin. Now, Blake's a card, I guess I don't know exactly how good he's going to be. He is a point guard, power forward point guard, invincible card. So for me, because he's 6'10" and has at the point guard position, I think he's going to be an A tier caliber player. You could have him in S tier if you want to have him in GOATed, that's fine. But I think he does have the Blake Griffin release. He's going to be fine. Blake Griffin's going to be fine. Do I think he's going to be a top 4 or 5 point guard in the game? I don't. That's why I have Blake Griffin here at A tier. But nonetheless, the card is solid, especially for, you know, an invincible card. He's still very, very solid, and I'm absolutely going for him on my no money spent squad account. Next, we do got Dwight Howard. Now, Dwight Howard's a card, again, another card who is okay in the game. On current gen, I'm not nearly as high on him. I'll go B tier. We might have to adjust these with Blake in S and maybe Dwight in A, if we do have to end up adjusting things, because just looking at this, I mean, Blake's better than every card I see right now. So I'm just going to move Blake up to S, Dwight up to A right now, just as where things are. Now, I'm going to try to keep the GOATed somewhat limited. I mean, just the way it is. Ben Simmons, I'm sorry, guys. Current gen, he's okay. He doesn't have any hot spots. This card doesn't, so he's okay. Not a card I'd recommend for anybody to pick up on current gen. So that's simple. If you're on next gen, he's quite a bit better. Manute Bol, here's what I'll say about Manute. He's a cheese ball. Like, he's an absolute cheese ball. If you want to have fun with the game, you can use the card. He's fine. Like, you can maybe even put him at B tier. Like, he is actually okay. It's just he has to fit your playstyle. It's really that simple, right? He's not a GOATed card, right? He has to fit your playstyle. His release is okay, but he's just not one of my favorite cards in the game. Mikal Bridges on current gen, I'm going to go right with Manute Bol. He's fine, right? If you want to run the card, he's going to be able to hold it down. He's objectively fine. Again, I might have to move these tiers around because I can't put Covington any lower than Mikal Bridges. Maybe I kind of want to move Manute Bol down and maybe Mikal down because I like Covington just that little bit more. It's what I'm going to do for now. Covington on current gen is incredible. I love his release. He beats people up. I can't wait till we get a better Robert Covington card. I think we will still. I'm holding out hope for 2K that we see a better Rocco card, but I'm a big fan of Robert Covington. And not what only he can give me, but what he could do for you guys as well. Andre Kirilenko, Radioactive card, is up next. Now, I think he's one of the most underrated cards in the game on current gen. But to go off of that, since we do have the new AK card, it's kind of hard to say that. Like, he's okay in the game, right? Andre Kirilenko is okay. He's just not necessarily the best card in the game. And as you guys can see, we started with kind of the lower tier cards, and then we get into the uppers here with all dark matters down here. So just know the list is only going to probably get better over time. So if you're wondering, you know, why is there a lot of lower tier cards here? That would be the reason. Christian Wood, I'm going to have to do something with the tiers. It's just the way it is. For this list, the best players on current gen, Ben Simmons might have to go down. Christian Wood, I think you're a C tier player. Look, here's what I'll say. If you grinded Christian, now I got to move you. I don't like the tiers the way I got him. I really don't like the tiers the way I got him. I can't put Manute any higher. I can't. Christian Wood's a C tier player. Covington's a C tier player. I like this a little bit more. It's just hard because, again, we're just starting things off. But again, on current gen, Christian Wood's fine. He's got the Ray Allen base. If you grind it for him, he can absolutely play. It's just defensively, he's not that good. Danny Ferry, a Galaxy Opal that, in my opinion, is an S tier player. And you guys are going to see why he's not a GOATed tier, in my opinion. He's an absolutely incredible player. It's just for the, like, let's compare him to the new Invincible LeBron we got. Is he as good as the new Invincible LeBron? You can go back and forth. In my opinion, I don't think so. So, Danny Ferry's incredible. He's still a top 20 card, I'd probably say, in the game. It's just the more I use Danny Ferry, I'm just not quite as high on him as I originally was. David Robinson's a card. If you grind it for him, you're probably going to be higher on him than me. C tier is perfect. I mean, that's a perfect tier for him. If you want to use David Robinson, if you grind it for him, and if you want to use the card, you can. But he's not a card where, like, if I didn't grind for him, or if you guys didn't grind for him, you really lost out on much. He's fine within NBA 2K21 MyTEAM, but he's just not one of those cards that you want to go out of your way to get. Now, Radioactive Giannis, this one might be one that splits the community. I'm putting him in S tier. Now, the reason I'm putting Giannis Antetokounmpo in S tier is because his release is on quick. Some people prefer this Giannis to the other Giannis, or to the newer Giannis. And if you do that, I don't blame you, because that's how I am with Kevin Durant. So I think this Giannis, for what he can give you on defense, as well as having an easier release to Green within 2K, I think at S tier is the perfect spot. If you're asking me who I like at the 4 more, him or Dwight Howard, it's Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I like him at that S tier territory. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, look, I mean, you're fine. If you want to use Kareem, you're fine. Like, F tier is just not terrible players. They're just players I wouldn't recommend. I just think if you compare Kareem to this David Robinson, I mean, I guess I'll move him up to D tier, because I still think he's a lot better than this Ben Simmons at that center position. He just got a little bit of a lower 3-ball, and he's not a card I would necessarily recommend. Kawhi Leonard, you're going A tier. This Kawhi, I don't care that he has steady. I don't care about he's the most chicken man that 2K will ever have in its game. Ever. I will never green more with a card than this Kawhi Leonard, and it's just the way it is. He's absolutely chicken man, has that Ray Allen base only on quick. One of the easiest releases on current gen to time, and that's what this list is about. He was my small forward for the longest time, literally over the course of 3 or 4 months. So for me to go any lower than A tier, it's just quite honestly not going to happen. K Disney, Galaxy Opal card, is an S tier player. He is better, and he is going to, I'm not going to ruin anything, but trust me when I say this Kevin Durant still plays for me on Xbox. He is my shooting guard on Xbox right now, and he is an absolute bucket getter. He plays on my no money spent squad as well still to this day. I'm in love with this Kevin Durant card. There might never be a Kevin Durant I'm higher on than this K Disney right here. The out of position center primary Kevin Durant on current gen is absolutely immaculate. Now, Kobe's a card, guys. Listen, I know Kobe gets a lot of hype for being whatever. I'm not a big fan of him on current gen. I'm just not. You can say Kobe's the top shooting guard in the game, and if you want to, that's fine. But at the end of the day, this is my tier list, right? We've got a ton of guys to get through, and Kobe Bryant is just not one of the top guys that I have up here. Nicholas Batum, I'm sorry, DBG. I'm sorry. On current gen, the card is not good. It's you can say, well, what's high, this and that. Yeah, the base 40 on current gen is mid, okay, mediocre. He's just a mediocre card. That's all I can say. He's fine if you want to use him for his budget. He's not terrible, but he's just not really it. I tried using him on my no money spent squad account, and it's just he feels sluggish. He doesn't feel that next level good. If you're on next gen, that's fine. Nicholas Batum solid, but for current gen players, he's just quite honestly not the man with the plan. Thaddeus Young up next, I'll say this about Thad Young. Wherever Andre Kirilenko is, that's where Thad Young is. I do like Thaddeus offensively better than AK. I just like AK's defensive animations. Thad Young has I think it's base 98 on very quick, I think, whereas AK's is only on quick. Wherever Thad is, AK's got to be. I think Thad's definitely a step up of a guy like Covington or even Christian Wood, Mikal Bridges. But I can't put him at the Kawhi level. I'm sorry. You guys might think I'm biased, but I just simply cannot put him that next level up. One of the most disappointing cards in all of 2K is Tony Kukoc. Listen, if you're on current gen, he's just not really the man with the plan. He's 6'10". He should be better than he is, but I don't know if it's because he doesn't weigh that much or what it is about his player build in specific. But I'm not a big Tony fan. I don't know what it is. Something about him or even his release. He does the Ray Allen base. Just doesn't feel right. Maybe he's the type of card that I need to play with some more, but I don't know. I just am not sold on Tony at all. Cliff Robinson up next. I'm going to put him at C tier again. A next-gen card in Cliff Robinson. On current gen, the Dwyane Wade's release is not one I'm willing to even work with. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. Dwyane release is not it. I know I got a lot of people with C tier, but all these players have belonged there, right? Cliff Robinson on next gen, I get it. He has a signature defensive player model or player build and stance, 6'10". He's going to do some great things for you, but at the end of the day, we got cards like Van Arsdale. We got cards like Andrew Wiggins who are obviously going to be higher than Cliff Robinson. Gallo, I mean, you're at C tier too. Kind of a letdown card for Gallinari here, and it came down to this. When the last Gallinari we got, I think it was a diamond card, came out. That release, it wasn't game-changing, but it was so tough. The Diamonds release, I think it was only on quick, was so tough, so easy to time. Gallo's based on very quick. It's difficult. It's kind of way more difficult to time, way more difficult to green. It's still fine. It's okay, but it's not a release I'm going to go out of my way to get, right? It's fine. Gallo especially. There's plenty of people, if you want Gallinari, that have his release that are better than him. DeJounte Murray's a card here on current gen. Again, I compare him to Nicholas Batum. They're not the same card, but when I play with them, they're there, right? You're not going to notice them be a liability necessarily because they're both fine on defense, but they're just there. I guess that's the simplest way I can say it. Neither Nicholas Batum or DeJounte Murray are cards that I'm like, man, let me get my hands on them on current gen. They're just there. They're okay. They're fine. James Wiseman on current gen. Listen, I don't like you, but I respect you. I respect you enough to put you in A tier. Again, I will never use James Wiseman on current gen, and maybe that's just because I got off on the wrong foot with the card and I've never really looked back, but he's not bad. There's people that swear by James Wiseman, and if you're one of those people, that is absolutely fine. It's fine to have your own preferences. For me, James Wiseman's A tier. I think that's a perfect spot for him. Power forward position, I prefer Giannis over Wiseman. It's that simple. Jeff Green up next. Here's the thing about Jeff Green. A lot of people might not love the card, but he's good. Jeff Green is solid. He's a big step up of a Covington type card. Do I think he's better than Thad Young? I think I'd give the slight edge to Thad Young, but I do like Jeff Green kind of player build. Maybe just that little bit more. I think Jeff Green on the defensive end is going to give you a little bit more, whereas Thad Young on the offensive end is just going to be that little bit better. But separating these two is something that, for me, I can't do. Jeff Green is very solid. Yalen is another card. I honestly think he's slept on quite a bit. Shooting guard, small forward, 7 feet tall. He's tough to guard. Defensively, he's going to be solid. You just don't see, I haven't seen a lot of people run this card. I don't know if he's overpriced. I don't know what the situation might be with Yalen. But I played with him in a competitive game one time, and he didn't sell me, right? His release is the same as Jonathan Isaac, so on current gen, it's just okay. But other than that, right, other than his release, what else is really the problem for Yalen? To me, he's a solid card with an NBA 2K21 MyTEAM. Up next here, we do got Jonathan Isaac, and Isaac's a card I'm a massive fan of. And here's the reason for this. Jonathan Isaac's a card I can plug in, and I know what I'm getting from him. A 3-and-D maestro. He can dunk on top of people. I love Jonathan Isaac. Do I think Isaac's better than Danny Ferry? No. I think the difference between Danny Ferry is a big difference between Jonathan Isaac, but I also think the difference between Jonathan Isaac and a guy, let's say like Thad Young or even Wiseman at the 4 is massive. I'm a massive fan of Jonathan Isaac, specifically on current gen, just because there's nothing the card can't do. He doesn't come with Showtime, but once you give him the gold Showtime, trust me, he's the man with the plan. Josh Jackson, he's a C tier player. I could spend all day talking about all these cards, but you guys look up Josh Jackson and this Kobe Bryant, and you guys be the judge. It's preference between Josh Jackson, Mikal Bridges, all these guys. It's honestly just preference. Josh Smith, you deserve one step above these guys. Now, here's the thing about Josh Smith. Maybe I need to put Josh Smith in A tier. When Josh Smith first came out, I was a big fan of the card. I'll be the first to say it. I was a massive fan of the Galaxy up with Josh Smith. But as time went on, his release just got worse and worse and worse. Yes, defensively, he's solid. But Josh Smith's kind of limited offense hurts his value quite a bit. Kyle Anderson, I haven't used the card. I'll be the first to say I have not used this Kyle Anderson card. But he's 6'10", has a good release. I'm going to put him in B tier. I think that's where he belongs, in that step above a guy like a Covington, like a Tony Kukoc card. Has the Brook Lopez base, which I love, 6'10". If you ever use the Amethyst Kyle Anderson, you know what I'm talking about. The dude was the man with the plan. Larry Bird on current gen, I'm sorry. Look, I'm not going to gas it too bad, but the card on current gen is not it. I guess he's C tier. Look, at point guard, he's still C tier. How many point guards are you going to give you what that Larry Bird can? Not a lot. I still think on current gen, he's better than a Batum, DeJounte Murray. So I guess I got to put him at C tier. Again, not a big fan of Larry Bird, but I can't put him lower than that. Karis LeVert, I don't want to overload C tier. I'm going to go D tier with you. Now, Karis LeVert's a card that's fine. But again, I think he has that Jonathan Isaac base, which for a point guard isn't necessarily the best, isn't ideal. It just is what it is for Karis LeVert. Chandler Parsons, you're F tier. Look, I know a lot of people in the comments are going to be mad about Chandler. The dude's a bona fide scrub. Maybe I'm biased because they got this contract that he never should have gotten. But Chandler Parsons, just get him off my screen, dude. On to the next player. I'm not even going to worry about you. Give me all these dudes at D tier over you, you certified scrub Chandler Parsons. Boucher's a card I've not used. I'll be the first to say I've not used Chris Boucher. But here's the thing. He looks solid. And Chris Boucher's other card, I think it was a diamond card, pre-250, was solid as well. People have been telling me to use him. Haven't used him, but if I had to guess, I would guess B tier. Same thing with Deandre Hunter. B tier player. I've used the card. I like the card. But is he that next level good? I don't think he's quite like that. Same thing with Trevor Reese. It's the same problem I had. The release is tough to consistently green with. We've seen a lot of very quick releases that are kind of like that are just tough to consistently green. And DeAndre Hunter's is another one of those releases that is just tough for it to be consistent. Now, DeRozan's a hard one. I think I got to go A tier for DeMar DeRozan just because of how green his release is. Now, do I prefer Kawhi Leonard to DeMar DeRozan? Absolutely. But when it comes down to Josh Smith or DeRozan, that's when I think you go either way on it. So it's just part of what it is. So I'm going to put in some of these higher tiers really quick just so we get some balance here. Invincible Kareem. I mean, what more do you want me to say? Look at all these players I got. But Kareem, I mean, it's obvious, right? I'm not going to put a ton of people in GOATed tier, but you're GOATed. Kareem is a top 3 card in the game on current gen. And that way, we kind of know what the standard is at that top tier. The top tier is going to be the best of the best. Dino on current gen is good, guys. He is an S tier player on current gen. I said it. He's an S tier player on current gen. I know he doesn't have Showtime, but again, similar to a guy like Jonathan Isaac, he's better than Jonathan Isaac in my opinion. You give him Showtime, the dude can hoop. I don't mind his release. I'm not the best with it, but Dino Raja deserves some respect. People aren't even sleeping on him because he is getting ran in some competitive level games, but he's not necessarily talked about as much as he should be. Terrence Ross, I saw you stream on Twitch the other day. Shout out T Ross. He was streaming 2K actually. 2K, he's just not the man with the plan. It's just that simple. I don't want to hate on the card, but in 2K, he's just not the man with the plan. Tyler Hero, man, I wish I could be higher on you. You're just not that good. You can be a C tier because you're 6'6", you're fine, but you're just simply not that good. Tyrese Halliburton, I haven't played with you, but I would guess you're a C tier player. I know your diamond was super good for its time. The Galaxy was just an improvement of the diamond card, which is solid, right? He's going to be solid, but again, if you're B tier or above, you're incredible within 2K. Wes Unseld, here's the tough part. Is Wes Unseld better than Larry Bird? Yes. Is he better than Tyrese Halliburton? I think so. I'm going B tier with Wes Unseld. I'm going B tier. I think almost everybody on current gen can vouch that Wes Unseld, because of his player build, because of his player model and release, is a step above these types of guys. He's taller than Hero and Halliburton, has a good release, wider player build, better defensively. I'm going to step up above Melo. You stink, okay? Is Melo better than these guys at F tier? I don't even know. He's an F tier player. It's just the way it is. Nobody should on current gen should be using him. Part of the reason he's so low is because he's an idol set. I don't want to be biased, but that's part of the reason. He just stinks in NBA 2K21. Chris Bosh up next. I think C is a perfect spot for Chris Bosh. That's perfect. 2 months ago, he would have been A, maybe S tier, but we're in the time now. Chris Bosh is just okay. He has 40 Hall of Famers, I think 24 on gold. He's fine. He's just not that next level up. Now, Jason Tatum's a card I like a lot. I like Jason Tatum up a lot. I kind of want to put him at A tier. I am going to put him at B tier just because I don't know what it is about his player model, but he lacks a little defense. And when I say that he's not bad defensively, okay, I can't have him in the same tier as Jeff Green and Thad Young, though. I got to move Jason Tatum up. I think he deserves A tier. He's still not the best defensive player in the game, but because of his release and how chicken it is, I think he's a step above these 3 guys right here who are at my B tier. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I love you. Listen, I know you don't have hot spots from above or from anywhere outside of the corners, but I still love you. If you ask me right now who I'd rather play at center on current gen, this Dwight or this Kareem, it's this Kareem. So he's an A tier player, and that's why anytime in the past when somebody has tried slandering my man's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I just have to stop for a moment and think. Kareem's defensive player model is unlike anything we ever see year after year after year. His release is incredible. Look, I get it. This Kareem doesn't come with range. No hot spots from above the break, but trust me when I say the dude is elite. Gavin Garnett, you stink. You're going D tier. Look, you guys can hate me all you want for putting this Kevin Garnett card in D tier, but I'm not a fan of the card at all. I am not a fan of Kevin Garnett at all. His release stinks. Yes, defensively he's solid, but who can't defend at this stage of 2K? KPJ up next. I'm trying to think where a good spot for KPJ is. Dark matter. I honestly think C tier is where he belongs. Now, again, I'm taking Wes Unseld over KPJ on current gen. But again, if you compare KPJ to a guy like Nicholas Batum, DeJounte Murray, I'm still going to take KPJ. I think he is that one step above those guys, but not quite as good as the Wes Unseld. Our next player here is going to be the out-of-position Kobe. Right now, if I have this Kobe here, I have to have the out-of-position Kobe a step lower. But here's my problem with that. I can't have him lower than a guy like Tyrese Halliburton, so maybe this Kobe has to be a step up, and I think that's what I gotta do. I think this Kobe Bryant Gladiator card has to be a step up. I don't love the card. I'll be the first to say it. I'm not a massive fan of him. He does have a release on very quick. This Kobe's is on quick. Other than that, there's not much that separates the cards. If you do play Kobe, I think his best position is shooting guard as well, which this one does indeed have. Again, not the biggest Kobe fan. He's just fine. Now, MJ, you're up there too. I don't want any disrespect towards Michael Jordan. I just don't. I think he is better than every other shooting guard I have. I just can't. I'm torn right now. I like Michael Jordan, but because we do got the newer MJ, it's just hard. It's hard to put a card that came out that long ago higher than C tier. It's just C tier is going to be stacked, guys. It's going to be stacked. It's the way it is. I wanted to put MJ higher, but when you compare MJ to Cliff Robinson, I know MJ's got a smoother release. It's just tough. Pistol P. Maravich, current gen stinks. Tracy McGrady on current gen. Listen, I know you got steady shooter. You're A tier still. Radioactive T-Mac is still A tier. I do prefer Kawhi. I do prefer DeMar DeRozan. But Tracy McGrady is still solid. It's just the way it is. I'm a big fan of the card. Zion Williamson, look. Zion, I guess. You're C tier. And here's the thing with Zion. 2 or 3 months ago, the card was incredible. He's got 40 Hall of Fame badges. He was the first card that came out that really kind of changed the game and the way it was played. It's just he's only 6'6". There's only so much Zion Williamson can do for you. And for that reason, I cannot put this Dark Matter Zion card any higher. He's fine. And again, if you have him and love him, C tier. If you have any of these guys at C tier, you can use them. There's not one player at C tier where I'd be like, okay, guys, do not use him. Now, D tier, there's guys like, Caris LeVert, who I would definitely not recommend. Kevin Garnett, I'd never recommend to anybody. But C tier, I don't really see a bad player here. Next up, we do get Bailey Howe. Now, there's going to be some people in the comments that are mad at where I put Bailey Howe, and that's fine. You guys can go cry. Bailey Howe is a B tier player. He's definitely not higher than that. He's okay, right? He's got a good release. He's only 6'7", 6'9" wingspan at the small forward, power forward position. If my small forward in this era is 6'7", we got a problem. Listen, we got a problem. What does Thad Young not give you that Bailey Howell does? That's what I'm wondering. Give me Thad Young every day of the week over the Bailey Howell card. Listen, I know I'm going to make a lot of people mad, but it's just the way it is. Ben Simmons, Dark Matter card, who in my opinion is goated tier. He is that good. He's my point guard. In any situation, I'm that high on Ben Simmons. He's one of the best. You guys can disagree if you want. You guys can have your favorite point guards, but Ben Simmons, whether you are on either gen, is just that good. His release on very quick is smooth, which a lot of people can't say. I mean, we're going to get to some of them later on in this video. His release on very quick is smooth. He obviously dunks on everybody. Defensively is solid. I'm a massive fan of Ben Simmons, and he is definitely goated tier. Elgin Baylor, you're the epitome of a B tier player. I mean, you just are. You can't go higher, can't go lower with Elgin. He is a B tier player. Does have the XM base, a very solid release, but he's only 6'5". Elgin Baylor, rest in peace, always. You know what I'm saying? I will always have a special place in my heart for Elgin Baylor, and that grind I did at the start of the year for him was one of the only few people who did end up grinding that out. But Elgin Baylor is fine. I like him in the game, and if you grind it for him, he is more than usable. In NBA 2K21 if you are on current gen. Now, one that might surprise a lot of you guys is where I put Grant Hill. And I'm going to put him in A tier. Now, I do think he's a top 10 point guard still in this game. But again, when you compare Grant Hill and Josh Smith, that's when things really do get tough. I'm taking Grant Hill over a guy like Wes Unseld. I know a lot of you guys might disagree with that. But Grant Hill gets incredible animations. You can't make those up. The way he plays and can defend, you can't make up what Grant Hill can do. That's just the way it is. He's a card you got to be kind of comfortable with, and that's why I'm biased towards him. If you're not comfortable with Grant Hill, you definitely have him in B tier, but I honestly wanted to go S tier with Grant Hill. He means that. He meant that much to me, and when I play with him, he is that good. A card that never really lived up to any hype is Larry Kenon. The card's okay, but he's a C tier player at max. He can defend, but other than that, what is he giving you that somebody else can't, right? He can defend. Okay, cool. So can this LeBron, but this LeBron can do a lot more, and I'm going to keep going up with LeBron. LeBron James is an S-tier player. This LeBron is. I'll argue with anybody that wants to. Yes, you do have to use him as a primary ball handler. Yes, I mean, that's not necessarily ideal, But he's better at small forward than anybody that I see at that tier below. You can maybe make the case that Jason Tatum is that step above. But I disagree. LeBron, incredible defender. Really, the difference between this LeBron and the other one is basically the release. Yes, a few badges here and there, but it's not enough to really make a difference. I've always been a big fan of LeBron James. Not necessarily his release, just his player build, player model in 2K. And this is nonetheless Ralph Sampson, guys. He's terrible. I'm sorry. Nobody is running this card on current gen. You shouldn't ever run this card on current gen. He's a D tier player. You're lucky I'm giving you D. You know what, Ralph? You're a bona fide scrub. Plus, you got to be like, Ralph Sampson stinks. Sean Kemp, you kind of stink too. I'm going D tier with you. It's pretty self-explanatory. The Amethyst Kemp was good. There's no reason to run that Sean Kemp. Vince Carter, I mean, wherever MJ is, that's where I'm going with you. Your release might be a little better, but he's okay. If you grinded for Vince Carter, the only thing I can really say is I'm sorry. That's all I can say. Release is okay. You're 6'6". That's really it. I mean, maybe you could make the case. I guess Vince Carter probably is B tier. He's probably a step above MJ, so that's where I'm going to go with Vince Carter, just so I don't get a bunch of hate in the comments from everybody who grinded for Vince. He's not a card I would use if I grinded for him. I mean, it's just the way it is. He's fine if you did grind for him. You can use him, but I'm not a big Vince Carter fan. Will Chamberlain's a card in 2K that I think is okay. He's okay. I'm hoping the next wilt we get doesn't have this release, because this release is it's a wind-up. It has a hitch in it, and it's just not very smooth. So I'm guessing the next wilt we have will have a different release, but I like Wilt over a guy like Chris Bosh, but he's not quite the James Wiseman, Dwight Howard level. It's just there's a defined level for centers at B tier, and Wilt Chamberlain's really there. If you want to move Kareem Abdul-Jabbar down a tier, I guess you can, but for me, I like this Kareem one step ahead of this Wilt Chamberlain. Blake Griffin, Idols card, Idols VIP up next. He's okay. Blake Griffin's okay. I don't think he's quite Wilt Chamberlain's level. I don't like putting him at C tier, but that's where he belongs. He belongs right with Chris Bosh here at C tier. Now, I will say Chris Bosh and Blake are some of the best players at C tiers, along with Christian Wood. In my opinion, there's a big difference between Blake Griffin at power forward compared to Larry Keenan. I think Blake competes that little bit more. He's just not a card that you look at and is like, wow, I want to get that Blake Griffin. He's okay, but there's a big difference between the Invincible Blake, stat and badge-wise, than the Dark Matter Blake Griffin. Elvin Hayes up next. Look, Elvin, you're fine. Elvin, you're fine. I don't know whether to put you at C or D. I'm going to put you at C tier. Basically a Bob McAdoo clone. If you have Bob McAdoo, that's where he belongs, right with Elvin Hayes. They're going to do some things on the court that are good for you, but is he worth really, I mean, you don't have to do anything for him, but is he worth playing? Probably not. Is he better than Sean Kemp? I personally think he is one step above Sean Kemp, and maybe it's free card bias because he is a free card. You can put him in C tier, D tier. I'm putting him in D tier. I'm trying to make an argument for him over Kevin Garnett, but you just can't. Release-wise, it's not even that great on current gen, so I can't really even try to make that argument. We're getting down there. Honestly, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, and we got 6 lines left. So that, I can't really do quick math, but we're getting down there. Made some good strides here. Jimmy Butler, a card who I'm not a massive fan of. I still think is B tier. As low as you might want to go with Jimmy Butler, I still think you got to put the respect on current gen. The fact that he's better than Mikal Bridges, better than Josh Jackson. I think he is a B tier player because of his base 22 release. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of his upper. He's a free card. If you got Jimmy, you can run him. Not necessarily a big fan. Wherever Jimmy is, wherever Dr. J is going. You can make the case that Jimmy's better than Dr. J. You can make the case that Dr. J is better than Jimmy. My thing I'm going to say, I'll take Jimmy just because I've never really been a big Dr. J fan in 2K, but you can make the case either way. Both those cards are fine. If you want to run them as shooting guard, you can. I think there are much better options for our current state. Larry Johnson on current gen is a card that I want to go high with, but it's hard for me to go higher than B tier. Again, it just hurts him that he's only 6'7", and it's really it. I don't mind his release. I like his release on current gen, but he's only 6'7". He's 6'10" wingspan. He's really limited at this small forward position is what I'm trying to say. How am I supposed to vouch that Larry Johnson is that much better than Jeff Green, Kyle Anderson? Do I think he's better than those cards? I do. But do I think he's better than Thad Young, AK? I don't know if I'd quite say that. Next card here we do get is the Enshrined Magic Johnson. Now, the difference between the Enshrined Magic and the Invincible Magic is the gap is so tiny. The Enshrined Magic is very solid. He's an A-tier player. Is he as good as a guy like the Invincible Blake Griffin at point guard? I don't think he's quite to that level. I'm a big fan of what Blake Griffin can give each and every one of you. And the big reason behind that, the big reason I'm a bigger fan of Blake Griffin than a guy like Magic Johnson is because of Blake's release. Magic's release, it's not necessarily the worst, but it hurts him. It hurts him just that little bit, just because it is that little bit slow. So that's the problem I have with Magic Johnson. So I'm trying to find where the other Invincible Magic is, because wherever the one Magic is, it has to be where the other Magic goes, because you can't separate them, right? The Invincible Magic's obviously a little bit better, but they're basically identical cards. Next, we get the Dark Matter Paul George, and I would say this. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of Paul George, but when you compare him to a Jimmy Butler, Julius Erving, he's definitely better than those guys. I think he's on a similar level to a guy like Jason Tatum, honestly. If you want to put him a step up at S tier, you can. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just not the best with Paul George's release in general. So that's why I do have him at A tier, because I'm not the best with his release. And do I prefer him or Kawhi Leonard on current gen? This Kawhi Leonard, honestly don't know. That's the tough part about it. When we do get a better Paul George, which we eventually will, he's going to become playoff and be a top 2 tier player. But the way Paul George has been playing in the playoffs is a big turn off lately. Enshrined Ray Allen, current gen, I'm sorry. He's F tier. I'm sorry. You guys can debate, this Ray Allen card stinks on current gen. Shaquille O'Neal, I get it. He doesn't have the Gallo base. He might not be this, might not be that, but he's still an A tier player. And because of his player build, because of his player model, and the way he can burst to the rim, and just the animation he gets, Shaq's incredible. For a while, he was my center, and my favorite center in NBA 2K21 MyTEAM. So it's hard for me to put a guy who, at the time, maybe a month and a half ago, was my favorite center in the game, lower than A tier. The dude is still incredible. Thon Maker, the surprise of the day for the majority of you guys. He's a goated card on current gen. His release is incredible. He comes with 43 base Hall of Fame badges, I think 25 on gold. More than anything, I love Thon Maker's release. That's really what it comes down to. And at the small forward position, how many small forwards do we have that are 7'2" that can shoot the ball like Thon Maker can? I don't know if there's any. He can defend, he can shoot, he can attack the rim. It's not one thing this Thon Maker can't do. If we get an invincible Thon Maker at some point this game, just watch out. That's all I'm going to say. We probably will have 12, 13, 14, 15 players at that goated tier, because there are so many players on this list. Next up, we do have the Van Arsdale twins. Now, Tom is going to be a little bit better than D on current gen, but they're both still good. I would say Tom is probably A tier, D Van Arsdale is probably B tier. I honestly lean both of them being A tier though, because even when you compare him to Jimmy Butler, Dr. J, I'm still taking Tom or in D over both these guys. Are either of these guys S tier in my opinion? You can make the case that Tom is. You absolutely can make that case too. I think he is. I personally don't. But if you're a cheeseball, let's say you're a pro-am point guard, something like that, you're probably going to like those guys a little bit more than I personally do. A Disney up next. Now, A Disney is very good. It's like the more I use AD, the more I think he solidifies himself as one of the best bigs in the game. Now, I personally do not use Anthony Davis, but I think he's a step above a Kareem, step above a Dwight, step above a Shaq. I think he's an S tier player. I really do, and we're going to get a better AD once, and he is going to be elite. I'm not the biggest Anthony Davis fan. I want you guys to know this, because I personally don't even use the card, but if you can't respect him, I think you're wrong. A Disney has proved how good he is just over the course of time. Bill Walton's an F tier player. The dude stinks. There's nothing more to say. Drazen, you actually stink on current gen. You have steady. Look, you might even be D tier. I'm moving Drazen to D tier. He is that bad. If I have Ray Allen in F tier, Drazen's a little bit better as just an all-around player, but it's not by much. Drazen Petrovic is a D tier player. And the saddest part about it all, guys, is the fact that I'm grinding for him. How sad is that? He's a D tier player and I'm grinding for him. That is so sad. Jarrett Wilkins, current gen is C tier. He's better than Drazen, but he's still not very good. James Worthy on current gen is B tier. He's right where Jimmy Butler is. Though both those guys with this triple threat spotlight sim kind of rewards, they're okay. I feel like more people are better with James Worthy compared to Jimmy Butler, but I've just never been able to get that Worthy's release down. Jeremy Grant, one of the most underrated cards in the game in NBA 2K21 right now. He's an A tier player. I think if you do play him at small forward, you're going to have a lot of success with him. Kind of has that similar player build, maybe a little longer wingspan than a Jason Tatum card. Defensively a little bit better, offensively a little worse release, but I'm a big fan of Jeremy Grant, and if I was a Pistons fan, I would definitely be running this card. Klay Thompson on current gen, here's the thing. He's fine. I can't sit here and say he's bad. He's probably... You could say B or C. I'm going to honestly put Klay Thompson at B tier because I feel like no, I can't. He's C tier. It's just the way it is. If I have Josh Jackson at C tier, Klay's got to be at C tier. It's just the way it is. Give me Jimmy Butler over Klay by the slightest of margins. Klay's fine. He's fine. It's just, I would say his jump shot, the load up on it, it's just not really for me. It kind of, the way his jump shot is formed, is built, it's not a jump shot for me. Kristaps Porzingis, probably one of the more one of the more difficult guys to rank on this list. You can go GOATed tier if you want. The only reason he's not in GOATed tier is because of the content we got on Friday. Before Friday, he was my favorite center in the game. That tells you all you need to know about what's going to happen up here at GOATed tier. It's not saying, nobody saying KP can't get moved up, but right now, I'm thinking that's where it belongs. LeBron point guard card. Look, as much as I want to go in GOATed tier, you're an S tier player. Right with the fan favorites, Bron. Both you guys are incredible. I do like Bron at point guard a little bit better. I think he gives you a little bit more. But again, without that XM base, the old LeBron, he's just fine. He's fine. It's not a terrible release at the point guard position. It's serviceable enough, but it's nothing like the new LeBron's release and what they gave him. We're getting down here. Next, we do get TJ Warren on current gen. C tier. I mean, people grinded this unlimited TJ Warren, and I don't blame you because the card looked very solid. But the more you look at the card and what TJ Warren can give you, especially if you're on current gen, the more you just kind of get disturbed and disgusted. He's just not very good on current gen. Comes with Hall of Fame blinders. His height is nice. It's just not a lot there with TJ Warren. Willis Reed up next. Now, Willis Reed's the exchange reward, and would I encourage anybody to lock Willis Reed in? No, but the dude is good. I've never done a gameplay with Willis Reed. I don't think I'll ever use the card, but he's a solid card, and if you want to lock in for Willis Reed, I would never encourage it, but if you do, let me know how he is, because he looks pretty solid in the game. I just will never, ever, ever encourage anybody to lock in for an exchange Willis Reed card, unless I do have him at A tier here. So we're getting down there, guys. I'm trying to think about, we have probably roughly 55 players left, so over halfway done here. Andrew Wiggins, I'm a big Wig fan. I'm a big Andrew Wiggins fan. We're going all the way up to A tier for Andrew Wiggins. I kind of want to go to S tier, but I do not think he's that next level up. Right with the Van Arsdales, right with the Galaxy up with Kawhi, Dark Matter, Paul George. I think this is a perfect spot for Andrew Wiggins. It's really an argument between him, Paul George, a guy like Josh Smith, who you want to play at the 2. It's all preference based. I don't even know what my answer would be to that. But there's no doubt Andrew Wiggins deserves to be in that conversation. Boogie Cousins, look, Boogie, you're the type of card that should be better than you are. I should like you more than I do, but there's just something about you. I don't know if it's your release. I don't know if it's your movement. There's something about you I'm not necessarily the highest on. Can't be any higher on DeMarcus Cousins than C tier. I know if you look at the point guards we have at B tier, do we even have a point guard at B tier? Right now, our B tier, oh yeah, we got Wes Unseld. You want to compare DeMarcus Cousins to Wes Unseld? Give me Wes Unseld every day of the week. Let's see, we got Dikembe Mutombo up next. It's similar to Kristaps Porzingis. I can't separate the two. Like, how am I supposed to sit here and separate Dikembe Mutombo and a guy like Kristaps Porzingis? To me, you can make the debate on current gen, one is better than the other. It depends whether you like offense or defense more. Offensively, KP is so much more talented. Well, on the defensive end, Dikembe Mutombo, still to this day, I'm trying to see. He's a top 3 defensive center in the game. It's hard for me to say top 1 anymore because of all of the great defensive centers we have, but Dikembe Mutombo is definitely very elite. George Gervin, I'm sorry for everybody that got George Gervin. He's B tier. He's good. He's B tier. I think you can maybe even make the case he's A tier. I'm going to make the case he's A tier because for those of you who did lock George Gervin in, I want to make you guys somewhat happy. He's A tier because here's the thing. He can defend at a decent level. He's got a decent jump shot. He can do everything on the court, but so can Jimmy Butler. He's just a better version of Jimmy Butler. That's the best way I can describe that George Gervin card. Next up, George Mikan. Y'all ever do the Mikan drill? Because I did. But don't get me started about George Mikan stinks in 2K, guys. Like, I guess he's C tier because he's not as bad as a guy like this Kareem. He's just not that next level good. He was a free card, so I mean, I guess I can't really hate on him too much, but he's George Mikan. Giannis Antetokounmpo up next. Now, here's the tough part for me. Right now, at this current moment, I think Giannis Antetokounmpo is a top 2 point guard in the game. That's the tough part I'm having with this whole thing we got going on. Because right now, I think this Giannis is the second best point guard in the game right now outside of Ben Simmons. He might even be number 1. But we also got the new Invincible Giannis as well. So that's the tough part about it. We'll get to that when the time comes. Glenn Rice, you just stink. I did a gameplay with you. Yes, you're better than Drazen, but you stink. This is current gen. Yeah, you stink. You're a little bit better than Drazen on current gen. You can be C tier. You're not very good in the game. C tier is where you belong. Jordan Clarkson, you're going B tier. I like Clarkson. I do. He's 6'5", a little undersized. With his release, though, he makes up for it. Clarkson is definitely good. Malcolm Brogdon's not very good if you're on current gen. I'm going to say C tier, but he's just simply not very good. Siakam, I know Siakam does have the Hall of Fame steady shooter, which hurts his value a little bit. I don't think he's quite to the level of a Jonathan Isaac. And now that I got Jonathan Isaac up here in S tier, I don't think he belongs. I'm going to do this. I'm going to move Jonathan Isaac down, and I'm going to move this LeBron James down. Now, I'm just going to do that because I don't think Siakam's that much better than a guy like Andre Kirilenko, so it's hard for me to necessarily... No, I do think Siakam's A tier. I think Jonathan Isaac's better than Siakam, but I think it's so close that it's hard to separate the two. Now, yeah, I moved A tier down a little bit because A tier, I want these guys to be the elite of the elite. And so I think this looks a little bit better as far as LeBron compared to a guy like Jeremy Grant and Siakam. I like that a little bit better. Robert Parrish, I'm not a huge fan of. Look, you can be C tier because of what you can give me on the defensive end, but I know you don't have hot spots all the way around. And it's just like for all these triple threat cards, we haven't gotten one that's been like game changing. So hopefully eventually 2K gives us one that is that next level good. Bob McAdoo, you're okay. Current gen, you're not very good. I'll put you at C tier. Again, not the massive fan of Bob McAdoo. He's fine. I think he's slept on for being C tier, right? Because he is a free card. But he's just simply not very good in NBA 2K. Brandon Ingram. Talk about a guy who is slept on massively within NBA 2K21. It's Brandon Ingram. The dude's an S tier shooting guard in the game. And you guys can really debate a wall if you don't think so. 6'9". Brandon Ingram's got a great release, can move. I'm a big, massive fan of him. I know he's probably overpriced to the max compared to like this Kevin Durant card, but BI is so tough, and I'm a massive fan of the card. We're getting down to about the last three lines here. Draymond Green, you're fine. I mean, what do you want me to sit here and tell you guys about Draymond? You can be B tier, but I'm not a massive fan of you. You can hold it down for the majority of people, but nobody's just gonna get the Draymond and be like, wow, he's the best card in the game. He's one of those cards that earlier on in the year, everybody hyped up and thought, you know, once we get a great Draymond, he's going to be incredible. He's okay. Horace Grant, current gen-wise, is C tier. I know I got a lot at C tier, but these are just kind of the average players that you can get by with running. Horace Grant, again, if you want to run the card, he's good on defense, but that's about all he's going to do for you. John Wall, let's be honest with ourselves. A 6'3", 6'4" point guard at this stage of the game, I'll give you C tier. I'll give you C tier because I see a guy like KPJ, see those types of guys at C tier, so I'll give John Wall that. I do like his release, just can't go any higher than that. Now we're down to our last three with Lamela Ball here. Now LaMelo is good. I'm not necessarily the biggest LaMelo fan, and I'll be the first to say that, but he is good. He is an S tier point guard, and there's no questions asked. If you want to put him at goated tier over a guy like Ben Simmons or this Giannis, I'm not going to sit here and blame you, and maybe that's eventually where I'll go if I do decide to put the other Giannis in there. But right now, I'm going to put LaMelo there at S tier. So looking at this, I think we got less than 40 cards left. We got all the invincible cards left outside of like Kareem. We're basically halfway done with the non-invincible cards, right? I guess half the cards we have left are invincible is what I should say. OG Anunoby, your release is kind of slow, but you're very solid. A tier for OG, no questions asked about that. Rudy Gobert, the more I use you, the more I just don't know about you. You're fine, Rudy. You're fine. You're a B tier center in the game. You're basically Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, I still even would take Wilt Chamberlain over you, Rudy. You're just fine. I don't know what else there is to say. You're offensively, you're fine. Defensively, you don't move the way you should. Just kind of weird. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a card that I actually like quite a bit. I'm going to go all the way to A tier with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander because I do think he's a step up of a guy like Jordan Clarkson. Big fan of Shai. I like his release. He does have the Devin Vassell type release. If you know, you know. He's only 6'6", and I say only because we got guys like 6'9", Magic, Invincible, Grant Hill here at 6'8". So it's just tough because he's only 6'6", but I'm a big fan of what Shai can give you. Wendell Carter Jr., wherever Anthony Davis is, Wendell's one step below that. So Anthony Davis at S tier. I'm going to go with Wendell Carter Jr. here at A tier. He has the Gallo base, but the more I use the Gallinari base, I'm very quick on current gen, the more inconsistent I get with it. It's just the way it is. It's a fine release in the game. It's not a bad release, but it's inconsistent. That's the best way I can describe it. Andre Kirilenko, if there's one guy that is it's a no-doubter, it's Andre Kirilenko. goated tier, no questions asked. Bam Adebayo, wherever Wendell is, that's where you're going Bam. I mean, really, it's just another Wendell situation. I mean, Bam is 6'10", Wendell's 6'10", I think. It's just a preference on release. I think Wendell's one step ahead of Bam, but they both belong at A tier. Devin Booker's a card I've never used. So I'm going to guess on Devin Booker and guess he's B tier. Again, I've never used Devin Booker, so I can't really say one way or another. He's only 6'6". I don't think he's quite going to be as good as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But again, this is just my guess. If I'm completely off on anybody on this list, it's probably going to be D-Book right there. Jarrett Allen up next. Now, here's what I'll say about Jarrett Allen. There's been some tournaments, some stuff, and Jarrett Allen's been on some good squads. Now, with that being said, I don't think he's any better than Bam or Wendell Carter Jr. He's going to give you something different, but release-wise, it's not the worst. And that's what I like. We're getting some of these cards that are very usable that aren't bad within the game. Joel Embiid, I know where I want to go with you. I don't know if that's where you're going to end up. I want to go goated tier with Joel Embiid, and that's where I'm going to put him now because I don't see anybody at S tier that is indeed better than Joel Embiid. Power forward position, I'm taking him over a guy like KP at the center position as well. So it's where we're going right now with Big Jojo. Now we get to Karl-Anthony Towns. Now here's the thing for Cat. I love you. Cat, you'll always have a special place in my heart. But can 2K give you a better release? Your release is not that slow, I guess. A tier it is for Cat. But let me tell you. If we ever get a Cat with like an XM base, oh, you know who's going to hype him up to no end, and that is going to be me. Kawhi Leonard, wherever Andre Kirilenko is for the rest of the year, that's better where you be where you have Kawhi Leonard. Arguably the two best shooting guards in the game, and in my opinion, that's what I got. So right now, my point guards are subject to change. Ben Simmons, Giannis, shooting guards, AK, as well as Kawhi Leonard. So that's what I got so far at the goated tier. We'll just keep going. Lamar Odom, I'm not the biggest fan of him. Now, I will say he's fine. He can compete. But I'm not the biggest fan of him. I do think he's an A tier player. Because if you do play him as small forward, let's say, what does Jason Tatum give you that Lamar Odom doesn't? It really comes down to preference. I'm just not the biggest Lamar Odom fan. I haven't loved any of his cards, and so that's the way it is. Lonzo, wherever Shai is, that's where Lonzo deserves to be. Wherever Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is, throw Lonzo Ball right beside him. Both 6'6", both have great releases. I mean, I know Shai's a lot more expensive. I might like Shai a little bit more. But Lonzo is going under the radar massively because he came out in a very good content drop. Don't sleep on Lonzo Ball. If he's your starting point guard, I don't mind you at all. Michael Porter Jr., you're going F tier. You're a million MT. You're going into F tier. If you get this card, he's F tier. If you lock it in and you got to use Bobo, I guess MPJ for me. Probably A tier. I'm not a big fan of him, but I'm bringing him to F tier because he's price fixed at 1 million MT. Zach LaVine, you're a little bit cheaper. You're not very good in the game, though. Like, Zach LaVine, he's fine. Guys, he's only 6'5". Like, I can't go any higher than B tier for Zach LaVine. I can't. I want to, but I can't. He's 6'5". I don't like his player build on current gen. He's B tier. Allen Iverson, Invincible card. I'm not even trolling on this. He's an F tier player. He might be the most unusable player on this entire list. He is the worst player on this list. If you have Invincible Iverson on your team right now, do yourself a favor, pause the video, go look at yourself in the mirror, make sure you're okay. So just I'm not even trolling you, just make sure you are okay. Antoine Jameson on current gen is not as good as he is on next gen. He's still a step above these guys. I'm going to put him at A tier, but again, I'm not a big Antoine Jameson fan, and I know a lot of people are. It's just not me. I know my A, B, and C tiers are stacked, but you got to be elite to be in the top two, or you got to be pretty bad to be in the lower tier. Ben Wallace, I'm not a fan of at all. You're a C tier player. You guys might disagree with me, and maybe I'm overstating it. Maybe all right, I'm going to put him in B tier because I might have gassed a little bit. I do not like Ben Wallace at all. I thought I'd like the card, but the more I use him or play against him, the more he's just useless out there on the court. He's just fine. He's okay. Bill Russell, here's where things get tough. Is Bill Russell a goated tier player? I personally think so, but we'll see. If I make this 10-man lineup, who's it going to be at the top tier? That's what we do have to decipher between Chris Webber. I'm not a big fan of you either. I'm going to put you right alongside Ben Wallace at B tier. I'm not a big Chris Webber fan. Now, the first Idols Chris Webber that came out was Chicken Man, but Chris Webber with the very quick release, it's just harder to green, harder to time that release. You got to remember, look at who else is out there. Throw Bailey. Throw you right in that Big Ben tier list, right? You, Big Ben, Chris Webber, you can all be in one. I'm honestly actually higher than on Thorough Bailey than the other two cards. So I'm going to bring Thorough Bailey to A tier just because I think he can give you a little bit more. So Thorough Bailey, join these dudes at A tier on current gen. We got all invincible cards left, I do believe. Let's start out with some of the worst ones. Kevin Garnett, I'm sorry. I'll give you one step ahead of this other card, but you're a C tier player. That release is unusable. You're kind of a scrub in NBA 2K21. Derrick Rose, I'm sorry. A C tier player as well. You guys might get mad at me, say whatever you need to say, but it's just the way it is. Tim Duncan, you are also a C tier player. I'm not taking Tim Duncan over Wilt Chamberlain right now. I'm not. It's just how it is right now in the game. Now we get, is there anybody else lower than C tier? I don't think so. We're going to go B tier with James Harden. Not a big fan of him on current gen, but I do think he's B tier. Same thing for Oscar Robertson. I think Oscar and James Harden, you can debate which one's better, but I don't think you can argue that they should be outside of B tier. And if you want to argue that case, I want to know why. So now every one of these other players should be A tier or above. I'm going to talk about this guy real quick. The Invincible Kevin Durant card is an A tier player. Now here's the reason why. That release on very quick on current gen is nearly impossible to green with. So when you compare this Invincible Kevin Durant to the out of position one or the center shooting guard Kevin Durant, just do that. And let me know which one you have more success with, because I guarantee the majority of the community is going to have more success with this Kevin Durant than this one. I'm going to get a lot of hate in the comments, and that's fine. If you want to hate me, you can do whatever you want. Just know that I play the game at a very high level, and I play with this Kevin Durant over this Kevin Durant, and it's not because of an MT problem. It's just not. Release-wise, it's tough to green with him. Invincible Dwight. Whoa. Where did I drag that other Dwight? Whoa. Oh, I have two Invincible Dwights. I was going to say, what is going on here? I thought I dragged the other Dwight there for some reason. I had two Invincible Dwights. I about got scared. Dwyane Wade is incredible in 2K. Wherever the Van Arsdale twins are, that's where Dwyane Wade is. If you want to go higher with Dwyane Wade, you can. If you want to go S tier with the card, that's absolutely okay with me. To me, he's just not. I'm not a cheeseball like that. I don't necessarily 3-hunt in that way. So for me, he's just not quite that next level good. Kobe Bryant, to me, we got levels to it. This Invincible Kobe Bryant's A tier. The Gladiator one's B tier. The out of position one is C tier. There's just levels to it. I think he's just that one step above. Luka Doncic. He is incredible. The more I use him on my no money spend account, the more I do indeed like Luka. He's an S tier point guard in NBA 2K21. Not my top two, but it's definitely one of my top 5 point guards. Tracy McGrady Invincible card. Look, we got the other T-Mac at what? A tier. This T-Mac's got to be one step ahead at S tier. I don't think he's a goated card. I think there are some downsides, especially if you're on current gen because the Hall of Fame steady, but T-Mac is still very solid. We're going to say Bobo. We're going to talk about Dirk Novinski next because Dirk is going under the radar right now. I want this to be loud and clear on me saying Dirk is going under the radar. Do I think he's better than Bill Russell? No, but I think it's closer than people think. Do I think he's better than Joel Embiid? I'm just more comfortable with Joel, so I'm going to go with him. But at S tier, I think Dirk might be the best card. I just do. I love Dirk and what he can give you. It looks like I got 2 Invincible Blakes as well. So that's kind of my thought process right now is Dirk is incredible, but goated tier is the best of the best. Speaking of the best of the best card on current gen right now, him and Kareem. It's not even close. Bobo and Kareem are the best 2 cards in the game. So throw Bobo there at the goated tier. Is he worth locking in? If you have the MT, absolutely. If you don't have the MT, don't worry about it. You're not going to come up versus that many Bobos. But he is absolutely elite. LeBron James up next. And here's the tough part. Here's where things get tough. Do I prefer LeBron James or Invincible LeBron James or Thon Maker? I need to think with my head right now, and I want to put Thon Maker up here, but I can't. Like I need to think with my head right now. Although I love Thon Maker so much, you got to go with Invincible Bron. His release is incredible. Obviously, player build's incredible. Defensively, he's going to be incredible. I do think he is one step ahead of Thon Maker. But don't take that as a slash towards Thon Maker. The dude is absolutely elite. Invincible MJ. Where to have the other MJ at C tier? I think Invincible MJ does belong at A tier, right, with Kobe Bryant. It's really a preference between those two. If you want to put them at S tier, I think you can. But on current gen, I think T-Mac is that one step above. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Here's where we're going to have to make a change. We just have to simply make a change. I don't think anybody is going to argue me when I do this. But the problem is, who do I remove out of my lineup here? That's the problem here. We're going to drag Shaq up here too, so we can just start talking about what I need to do with my lineup. So here's where things get interesting. because I need to play my Giannis at point guard. So here's what I have. I guess this Giannis right now would have to be here because I like Giannis at point guard. So here's what we got. We got Ben Giannis at the point guards, AK and Kawhi at the shooting guards, Bobo Brown at the small forwards, Bill Russell and Embiid at the power forwards, and then Kareem and Shaq at the centers. Now, objectively, is this Giannis better than the other Giannis? If you like a Lamela Ball, Luka Doncic, absolutely. But I just don't think I can bench a guy like LeBron or Bobo for a guy like a Luka Doncic or Lamelo Ball. It just doesn't even make sense to me. So I guess Invincible Giannis is going to go one step below the out of position. The difference between the two is hardly anything outside of the 3-ball and hot spots, maybe from a little bit. But I mean, the way I'd probably just gonna do it is put Giannis up there because that's where he belongs. There's 11 guys up there. You guys can tell me which one you would remove. But that is going to wrap it up for this tier list of the current gen players, the top current gen players in NBA 2K21 MyTEAM. I'm sure there's somebody I left off the list, and if there is, let me know that down below in the comments. I don't know how DBG constantly records these tier lists. My throat is fried, and I am exhausted. But let me know who you guys think is too high, too low. Remember, this is my own tier list. If there's one guy that you could change, let me know. There's a lot of guys A through C just because I think that's the way it should be. Oh my goodness, look at me rhyming. I've had enough, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you are new, and as always, man, I love you guys and have a blessed day.